Excuse me, could you point me in the direction of Scream City? Never mind. I think I found it.
Hey, horror freaks. Welcome back to Scream City. We're your host, Monica.
And I'm Jessica. And today we will be discussing the 2006 remake film, Black Christmas. Now, before we get on to the rest of the episode, I think it's best we address the elephant in the room.
Salem. No.
Salem, yes.
My cat.
Which is our biggest hiatus yet. We are genuinely very sorry. I promise you that we feel just as guilty, Listen, work, the holidays, and life overall just really kicked us in the butt. But thankfully, we pulled through and we are back in business. Now, I will say, give us a break. It's our first time being, podcast hosts. It's our first time, having a podcast, and, we're learning our ropes and learning our, what works for us and what doesn't. So unfortunately we had to take a small break
to kind of understand that,
to kind of understand and learn what's kind of best, what works best for us.
Yeah. Not that we went into this thinking that it would be extremely easy to do a podcast,
right.
And to grow an audience and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think what makes it more difficult is that, one, we don't live together, and
mm-hmm.
two, we don't really have somewhere where we can go to record and
right.
meet there. So it's either you have to come over or I have to come over, and sometimes life just gets in the way of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also we obviously don't use this podcast as our income, so we have actual
right.
jobs.
Yes.
And Jessica's in school, so it's hard to maneuver through a lot of things, but don't get us wrong, we want to be able to still commit and grow our audience and be able to kind of push through all that. So
mm-hmm.
but we're back, so we're going to try our best to
mm-hmm.
keep continuing that and not let anything else get in the way. But we were also supposed to cover The Mean One, but at the time of wanting to record that episode, it's still not available for us to watch. But either way, we're going to bring you guys another, good, gory holiday film,
mm-hmm.
which I don't consider this movie a favorite, but I really do like it. I think it's good.
Uh-huh.
But of course, before we get into the movie, for this episode, I wanted to try something a little bit different for our life update. So we normally give just a regular life update, and I wanted to try going about it just a little different. So I'm actually stealing the idea from my sister, and I hope she forgives me. But for our book club meetings that we have monthly, we normally begin the meeting with giving what's called a peek and a pit from the past month.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to try it and just kind of see how it goes. So we basically just name the highest point of our time, and then the lowest part of our time. So I just thought we could give it a try. So do you want to try starting us off?
Yeah, for sure.
So for the past time that we haven't seen each other, what's the highest that you're
okay,
and your lowest?
Well, I'll start with the lowest because it's the one I can think of first.
Okay.
The pit, I will have to say, I got extremely sick.
Yeah.
I lost my voice, and that is why we had to delay another week of recording, because
mm-hmm.
my voice was gone completely.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad. So that was my pit for sure. I'm better now, obviously.
And I want to say, we have tried, so just to kind of go back onto the whole it's in the way of us recording,
mm-hmm.
but we have looked into virtual recordings and things, but I have noticed that a lot of the places besides what is it, Zoom and stuff,
mm-hmm. where
the quality of the audio is not going to be great, everything else to where you can record virtually, everything costs money. And so, and the thing, we're not rich.
Right.
We are still bottom of the barrel broke.
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to look into different websites on trying to record virtually
mm-hmm.
is also an idea. And we're going to try that at some point. But for now, we're just going to have to continue meeting until we can maybe invest into another thing for this podcast. But yeah, anyway.
For sure.
Your high.
My high. Oh, okay. Well, it's just, okay. Within the last week, I think it's safe to say that one of my high, which it's more our high, our peak, is the fact that we are growing a following on TikTok, which I think is very exciting, and
TikTok is the place to grow right
100%,
now.
and it's also the most competitive, I think.
100%.
TikTok is very competitive.
Yeah.
Extremely. People think that, oh, you know, just with one video I can get famous. You can
with
for
the
sure.
one video, but then if the content is what you want to create and
Right.
that one video just explodes,
Yeah.
like, you have to
Good luck.
continue. Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you if anyone listening right now is from TikTok, thank you for following, and I
Thank you so
promise we
much.
will bring more
content. And more like episodes and things to
Yeah.
talk about.
And
That's
more-
the fun part.
horror related places, because I will say I will
We do know a couple.
we do know a couple, and I know that honestly most of our following that we are growing is from the Horror Freak Shop TikTok that I made.
I love that.
But yeah, besides that, nothing too crazy.
Okay.
Nothing too crazy. What about you?
I don't know. I feel like I don't know if I really had like a strong pit for the past like weeks or even month. I had to work over the holidays, so
Same.
that's also what made it a little more difficult for us to record too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think my peak would be I would either say emo night, which was New Year's Eve. That was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I hadn't been in over a year. Or today. Today I got my first tattoo and then I got my septum pierced.
Fun.
And I'm pretty content about it.
You look more badass now.
Here's the first to many. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take me off the roster because I'm yadded now.
Right.
So
yeah.
she's a new girly.
She is a new girly.
Exactly. I think that can conclude our life update.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the movie.
Great. So yes, now this movie, it was a movie.
Okay.
I have a lot of thoughts and opinions and feelings on this movie, which
Yeah.
we will get into, you know, later.
Obvi.
As always, if you haven't watched this movie, we do suggest watching it because there will be spoilers
Yes.
in this
Spoil
episode.
every movie in every episode.
We
if you
do
haven't caught
spoil
up.
every movie in every episode. So, now the film is a remake from the 1974 film Black Christmas. We follow a group of sorority sisters who get stuck at their sorority house due to a storm. Little do they know, their home belonged to a vicious killer who is adamant on coming home for Christmas and will kill anyone, whether they're on the nice or naughty list. Now, I'm pretty sure that description is coming straight from Google, but yeah, that's basically like a little rundown of the movie.
Because there is so much more that goes into this plot.
Yeah.
That is kind of more than just that. That is like a
It's-
very brief synopsis of what it's about.
Yeah, that synopsis
This movie
doesn't
gets
tell
dark.
us. This movie, guys, listen.
Oh, we'll say it's a little triggering for some teens.
100%. And I have my fair share amount of movies that I'm like, ooh, I don't want to watch that again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a movie. This is one of those movies that I don't think I will ever watch again.
Yeah.
Maybe if I walk into a room, you know, and they're playing it, I will walk out.
You will walk out.
Yeah. But I think now is a good time for Monica, at least, to tell us your first impression and what your favorite kill and scene is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So starting with first impression. Now, I don't remember when I watched it for the first time, as I don't every movie. But I do remember watching it at home at some point and just liking it. But also being very grossed out. So this movie is pretty intense. With like, I guess the plot itself. It's kind of a lot to digest. I don't know. That's really all I can really say.
Here's the thing. Like, it's hard to kind of talk about it or explain it without...
Like, honestly, without triggering something.
Exactly.
It's a little
yeah.
hard.
And we don't really want to do that. I know in some episodes we might give a warning, but I kid you not, this movie exploits everything.
Yeah, I think what this movie does do well with the shock factor of like triggers is that it doesn't show the entirety
Right.
of it. So it gives you the
There's a word. Yeah.
what's the word? Like it gives you it tells you without showing you.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there you go. So it kind of just puts it in perspective for you, but it doesn't actually show gruesome details. I think the most gruesome detail for a trigger that I saw was maybe like parent to child abuse.
Yes.
You know?
Sexual abuse.
Well, that's the one that I'm talking about that
Okay.
they don't show.
Right. Yeah. But they... Oh, my God.
they suggest it.
Yeah.
Like, they suggest it.
Correct.
They,
yeah,
they
I think that is the
show-
word.
They don't show faces. They really just show, like, a peek, and then you kind of insinuate. Like,
Ugh, there we
what-
go.
They insinuate.
Yes.
and
Oh my
there it goes.
God.
We know English.
Yeah.
Yeah, they insinuate on what's going on.
Yeah.
And so you kind of just have to put the
Yeah,
pieces
yeah.
together. But I'm saying, like, when, you know, when she physically hits him and things like that,
yeah.
and you can tell that she neglects him and things like that. So you kind of put all of that together. But this movie was also, like, early 2000s.
That's
And
what I
early
was exactly what I was gonna say.
They lived for shock
They
factor.
sure did. They lived for anything sexual, I
Yeah.
will say. So,
They were like, sex sales, boom.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's what they thought. But
Yeah.
yeah. So again, this movie was a ride, but continue.
Anyway, okay, moving on.
Yeah.
So my favorite kill, it would honestly have to be between Billy's and Melissa's. I like them the most because they are they're both very, like, they're the most Christmas-y type of kills, if that makes sense. I love how Melissa gets her face sliced off by an ice skate, but it's also, I feel like there's also a mis-edit, or maybe it's just me a little bit later, because then we see her by the tree with no eyes, but her face is intact. But I don't know if it's her or if it's one of the other girls, but I'm like 90% sure that it's her. But I don't know. But then I also really like Billy, how Billy died.
Oh my
because
God,
he
I
just
love
literally
Billy.
plummets on top of a Christmas tree, and then his guts are hanging out, which decor for the
Yes.
Christmas tree, you know. So yeah. But what about you?
So my first impression, so I'm pretty sure this was my first time watching any Black Christmas movie. I'll go ahead and
You've
say
never
that.
seen the 1974 version?
No.
I like that
never
one
have.
a little better, but I mean, again, it was also made in 1974, so it's not as gruesome.
Yeah.
Because it was 1974.
Right.
But it was good.
Yeah.
I think I like it a little better than
I
the remake.
don't doubt that I'll like the 74 one more than this one.
Yeah, it's a little better.
But I do have a vivid memory of my sister watching it, but I can't say I actually watched it with her,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Basically, my first time watching it was a few days, well,
Now.
was a couple
Maybe a
weeks
month
ago. And yeah, like I said at the beginning, it was a movie. Listen, I enjoyed it. Will it be a new favorite Christmas watch? No. But no hate toward it, you know? You can definitely tell, like you mentioned, it's a Y2K movie.
Yeah.
It definitely, personally to me, gives off like Halloween / Michael Myers vibes.
Okay. Yeah.
With the way that this man is just chasing around girls.
yeah.
basically.
Like him and his sister were like
Yeah.
going at it.
My favorite scene is actually a death.
Okay.
And honestly, with the amount of... Okay, this movie had a lot of deaths.
It did, because I think literally everyone dies. Because there's quite a few characters in the movie,
Yeah.
and then everyone dies.
Everyone dies except for the final girl.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Shout out.
But with the amount of deaths in this movie, I feel it's only fair that, you know, my
you can
favorite
combine the
scene
both,
can
or
be a
combine both,
kill. But my favorite scene, which again builds up to a kill, is when Billy is chasing Kelly around the hospital. I think
yes.
the whole chase scene is just, any sort of chase scene is pretty funny to me, or
Okay.
just entertaining to me.
Cat and mouse.
Yeah, and eventually when he falls off of the railing, like you said, and is impaled by a Christmas tree, I
love
just
it.
think that it's amazing.
I think it's like a good final kill too.
Yeah.
Like it's like a boom Christmas tree.
Yeah,
I like
and
it.
I feel like it makes you think, oh, I forgot I was watching a horror Christmas movie. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Christmas tree. So that's honestly my favorite scene. My favorite kill, I actually will say, was Heather, who was played
Okay.
by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. When she is killed by Billy in the car.
Oh yeah.
Because all we see is just blood splattering everywhere.
Yep.
And I feel like that kind of, you can kind of portray it any sort of way. I don't remember if you hear anything going on. I love me a good blood splatter.
Yeah.
In any movie, I'm like, hell yeah, I
wanna
love it.
see it.
Because I'm just like, I
Like
think
it's a little more. It's like a satisfying look.
Yeah.
Because it's like I don't have to see the kill, but let me see the blood splatter.
exactly. I feel like it leaves room for imagination.
Yeah.
Like, how could they have? Was it a gun? Was it what was it? You know,
Did
like
you impale an artery so quickly
Exactly.
to where it just
so
splattered everywhere?
Yeah, again, I'm a sucker for like a good blood splatter movie.
Yeah, that was good. Speaking of this movie being like a Y2K movie, I think everyone in this movie is like iconic.
Yes.
I feel like they needed a chance, or they wanted an excuse to again just get all of
Mm-hmm.
these Y2K members all together, and then they were like, you know what? Let's make a remake of a movie.
Yeah.
And let's
It-
make it holiday.
Jam-packed with iconic Y2K actresses. Like, just to name a few very quickly, I already mentioned her, but Mary Elizabeth Winstead, which Final Destination Queen. Lacey Shaber? Michelle, guys, I never learned how to say her last name. Don't come for me. Trachtenberg.
Okay.
She's from, oh my god, that ice skating princess movie. And then Katie Cassidy.
Love.
Yes.
Yeah, I like everyone in the cast, and it's as if every girly who was popping in like the early 2000s just came together and made this.
Yeah.
And I think it's great.
I mean, yeah.
They're
same.
like, let's all get killed together.
Yeah.
I love all of them.
And I will say, personally, to me, Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character, Heather, was giving off major final girl vibes in this movie. It honestly, because it seemed like she was the smartest one there.
Okay.
Again, she was giving off those vibes, you know, when it came to a decision making. But you know what? I appreciate the element of surprise.
You're
Because
like, you know
I
what?
would've-
I don't always have to be right.
Personally, I would have never guessed Kelly to be the final girl.
Okay.
But good for her. And Katie,
sounded very
Katie
ungenuine.
Cassidy has her fair share of horror and thriller movies too. She was on the 2010 remake of Nightmare on Elm Street and was also on a great movie called When a Stranger Calls.
Yeah.
Iconic. Speaking of, fun fact, Camila Bell, who is the protagonist in When a Stranger Calls, turned down the role of Heather, aka Mary Elizabeth Winstead, in this movie due to scheduling conflicts. So it would have been, you know, a little
Nice reunion to kind of see them together.
When a Stranger Calls reunion. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Honestly, most of this cast has like some experience with horror in some way. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is obviously known for Final Destination. Crystal Lowe was also in Final Destination 3, Wrong Turn 2, and Children of the Corn Revelation. Revelation, sorry. And then I will say Lacey, is it Chabert?
Shabert.
Cabert?
Chabert?
Chabert?
Shabert?
Sorry. Is mainly known for her role in The Mean Girls, which is
course.
iconic. Miss Gretchen. Wieners.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's doing just a few Hallmark movies, which, good for her. Everyone loves a good Hallmark.
We do.
I mean, all the Hallmark movies are pretty bad.
They are.
But that's
Listen,
not the point.
I can't judge because I low-key would love to be in a Hallmark movie.
Oh, same. It's like watching movie versions of fanfic.
Yeah.
It's
like,
terribly written and terribly acted in, but
100%.
I want to watch.
it's like, and listen, some of the actors and actresses on recent Hallmark movies are good
Oh yeah, they're great.
actors and actresses. It's like they try to be really bad. You know what I mean?
It's like
but
that's the point.
yeah, even personally, even experiencing something remotely close to a Hallmark movie would
Yeah.
be amazing.
I love
Like,
it.
when is it my turn? You know what I mean?
When are they gonna tag me in?
Right.
I love. And another fun fact about casting is, which sort of relates to Lacey, is that Amanda Seyfried auditioned for Kelly, but was turned down because the filmmaker did not want two Mean Girls in the same movie, which I hate crime.
Oh, it is. But honestly, I'm sure people think that was dumb. Again, like, I'm sure people think that was dumb
guess, yeah.
of them because the movie may have done better having these two, you know, I think freshly off of Mean Girls. But if you think about it, I feel like the critics or the general audience wouldn't be able to take it seriously after watching both of them on Mean Girls.
I guess that makes sense.
And also, I'm not sure if you read this, but apparently we missed out on some even gorier kills in the US version, but the European version had Billy dying on the operating table after the doctors failed to revive him, which honestly, I liked the Billy
Hmm.
death that we got because it was funnier and obviously definitely more violent.
I love that.
Yeah.
I like our death.
I like our death too.
I like our death. I
Yeah.
thought it was funny, and
Yeah.
I liked the way that it just kind of finished.
And then dying on the operating table is like boring.
It's
like
giving Grey's Anatomy. Leave
I
it
was
for Grey's
literally
Anatomy.
going to say we see enough of that on Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, like leave
So.
it for Miss Grey.
Miss Grey, yeah, Dr. Grey.
Yeah, leave it for Dr. Grey. But speaking of Billy, Glenn Morgan, who wrote and directed this movie, took inspiration from Ed Kemper, who is a real serial killer, for Billy's character.
I feel like you and you have to be cautious of
Taking inspiration from
Yes.
something that is true
Real.
life, and
real
real
life,
life.
100%.
Because I feel like it can turn south very, very quickly.
Yeah.
I guess, filmmakers need to be a little careful.
Yeah, I do think Glenn Morgan did good
Yeah, I think he did okay with, using that as an inspiration.
because I feel like everyone kind of goes through their true crime phases, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I definitely did when I was a little bit younger. I'm not so in it right now.
I'm not into, yeah.
I will say, while I was watching this, I didn't even think about Ed Kemper. So, again, I think he did a good job on kind of keeping it low key.
Yeah.
And it's totally okay to get inspiration, I think, from something.
Okay.
As long as, again, you're not making it seem like
literally
you're...
dedicating an
Yeah.
entire film just for, the one person that caused so much trauma in
Yeah.
so many lives. So,
Yeah. Maybe someone who's obviously more into true crime or whatever was like, oh my god, this reminds me of Ed Kemper.
Right,
Good for you. But
Good for you, but
personally, I didn't think about it. So
Okay.
I think we are getting near the end of this episode, and I think now is a good time to do a little Would You Rather? Yeah.
Ding.
I will be honest. I had a hard time figuring out a Would You Rather for this movie.
Because it's like,
It's hard.
I will say, the more that we review films, it gets a little harder to come up with Would You Rathers.
Yeah.
We thought it would be a really good idea to, it was a good idea at the beginning, and it gets hard.
It does.
It gets hard because
I
it's
will
like,
say, I think the more episodes we make, the harder
it gets,
I don't
because-
remember what our first Would You Rather was, but I remember it being pretty easy.
I'm sure it was, because I'm sure it was like, would you rather get killed by this way, or would
Yeah.
you rather get killed this way? And that's really the only way.
Yeah, but we try to mix it up because we don't just want to be like, would you rather get killed this way or that way? Like, we want a different...
we want to survive in some of these would you rather.
Exactly. Like, I remember our trick or treat one. That one was pretty fun. Like,
That one
fall
was
into a
fun.
million whatever.
Yeah, because
of
we had to debate
Sam's-
on whether we would actually survive or not.
Yeah.
So I think it's fun. But some of these get hard, and then I will say I feel like it's going to get harder once we kind of start discussing some movies that we're not fans of.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we're just going to have to. We'll probably eventually, slowly. We're still learning, guys. So we'll maybe start changing some things a little bit later. But for now, you're just going to have to deal with our cringe would you rather.
Really bad Would You Rathers. Okay, so for this movie, would you rather? Would you rather get chased down by Billy
And his sister.
and his sister?
Because it's two of them, technically.
Yeah. Agnes, right? Is that his sister?
Agnes, I think so, yeah.
Okay, basically, sure. Get chased down by them, both coming from separate directions, in the hospital or in the sorority house.
Because the sorority house is pretty big.
Yeah, it is pretty big, but you think you know
Your way in and out
your
of
way,
the house.
but so does Billy.
That's true, because he lives there.
Yeah.
And then, it's a hospital. So
It's a
you
hospital,
kind of have
it's
a
big.
generalization of what a hospital should look
And
like.
you more than likely, there's other people there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But something in me is saying sorority house. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because the God complex in me, which by this point I think
Which
y'all...
tends to win a lot.
Exactly. Y'all should know at
Tends
this point
to
that I
take
have
over.
one.
Uh-huh.
Is, yes, it's a big house. But again, the God complex in me is like, I can beat this bitch down. You know what I mean?
It's like, I've lived in this house more recently than you have.
Exactly.
I understand that you're obsessed with your own home
Yeah.
and that you've lived here before literally almost all your life.
Yeah.
But I live
But now
here
it's my
now.
turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my turn, and I know where my kitchen supplies are.
Okay.
I know where the knife is.
Okay.
I know where my shotgun. I'm just kidding.
I know where literally everything
I know
is.
where everything is. And I will say the sorority house to me would feel more of a rush than the hospital.
Okay.
Because personally in the hospital, it's like, you're chasing me. Let me go grab someone.
Let me go find someone.
You know, like,
Let me go run into a doctor or
Or
security.
security, police,
The
whatever.
hospitals have securities.
Yeah. So
Okay.
personally, I think, again, this is just my God complex talking, sorority house. What about you?
Okay. See, I was going to choose hospital because I'm thinking of a similar situation, but like from Happy Death Day. Because you know how like at the end, he's chasing her in a hospital? And so...
And Scream.
And
The most recent Scream, remember?
So, okay, well, so then let's change it up a little bit and say that maybe a majority of the hospital is empty.
It's closed, yeah.
So, in that case, I would choose hospital. More so because... Okay, so it's hard because, like, sorority house would be, like, a comfort zone for me because I, too, would be like, I know where everything is.
Yeah.
But then I feel like a hospital, neither of us know the outline for it. So
That's
it's
true.
like, we can kind of outsmart each other and being like, well, let's see who can figure out the outline
Yeah,
better.
that's true.
And,
That's
like,
true.
quicker.
Yeah.
And to see if I can, like, find a surgery room with, like, I don't know, instruments or something.
Yeah.
So for my rush, I'm going to go with a hospital.
Okay.
And I'm going to assume that we both survive in these scenarios.
Yes.
So, okay. So now let's go ahead and rate this movie. So we are now at the tail end of the episode. So we're going to go ahead and rate the movie. For this movie, we are going to do our typical satisfactory scale and scary scale. Jessica, what would you rate this movie?
In the most respectful way.
Absolutely not.
In the most respectful way. I'm going to give the overall movie
Okay.
a 5.5
Okay.
out of 10.
Okay.
For satisfactory.
I don't think that's bad.
Okay.
So honestly, if you wanted to bump down your number, I wouldn't blame
Okay.
you. You're like, good, because I'm giving you a 1.
Good. I don't have much against it, honestly. I just can't say I'd be willing to watch it again. It is very early 2000s, and those movies are sometimes a hit or miss for me, and I don't think they're all bad.
No.
But some just do things that probably shouldn't have been done
Yeah.
or shown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for scary, I think I am going to give it a 6, maybe 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
It had its moments where I jumped, so I appreciate any sort of scare. And the gore was good too. So yeah, that's
Okay.
just
I mean, I think especially if it makes you feel uncertain, or not uncertain, but uneasy.
Yeah.
About, like, the topics that they were trying to, like, shine light on.
portray.
I think that can also go into the scary.
What about you?
Yeah. My satisfactory scale overall, I think I'm honestly same. I'm probably going to give it, like, 4 or 5. It's an early 2000s, like, horror movie. Now, I guess that is kind of hard because I don't hate Final Destination.
Exactly. I'm saying, like, a lot of early 2000 movies are
They're not
either a hit or
awful.
miss.
No,
Because
they're really not.
When a Stranger Calls, fucking love that movie.
I like When a Stranger Calls.
Yeah.
I like it's these movies, but I think when you try to make remakes in the early 2000s, maybe that just wasn't great.
There were a lot of remakes in the early 2000s.
Yeah, because I feel like they were just kind of running out of ideas
Yeah.
and being like, this was already made, but no
Yeah.
one has seen it like in this generation, so
Yeah.
let's remake it.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
For scary scale, I think 2. I think I'm gonna give it like a 5 out of 6, and I think that's mostly because of the gore and a lot of the killings.
Yeah.
It's not a favorite, but that's
No,
okay.
I
not
won't-
every movie is going to be a favorite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this
So,
is our first kind of review. Now, don't get me wrong. We'll probably review a movie at some point where we'll be like, "What the fuck was this?
Yeah.
This deserves
0
a
out of 10.
negative
Yeah.
0, which
Yeah.
doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, I think this concludes our Black Christmas 2006 episode. If you enjoyed this episode today, make sure to follow us on our social media, which we will have it all linked on our episode summary. And thanks again to everyone who has been supporting us recently. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm glad to say we've been able to kick off to a good start on TikTok. So if you're not already, make sure to follow us on there so we can reach many more of you horror freaks.
Yeah, I think horror is a really good conversation piece. A lot of people think we're crazy
Yes.
for loving horror so much. So let's show them that we're not.
And if you go back to, I think it was our first episode, you will know that Monica and I have a way to...
Like, don't get us wrong. We are able to literally know the difference and, like, between one, first of all, real horror versus like fake horror.
Right.
And I think the fake horror is what we both try to strive for and try to be like, hey, look at this idea that this person created out of like, you know, this and like that. And like, look how fun they had making this movie because it was fake.
Right. It was
and like,
fake.
Yeah, because it's fake and it's not real. Have fun
This,
with it.
I don't think we've said this already, but this podcast is to show how fun horror can be.
Yeah, it's not something that that needs to be scary.
To share our experience with horror, every single experience we've had, and more to come as well, with more movies, more conventions, more events, and all of that good stuff, and more conversations we'll have with more people. But what we're trying to do in this podcast is to shed some light, some positive light
on like horror.
on horror,
because it's fun.
and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have
all
to be
these things that,
gory
like,
all the time.
yeah.
I know we talk a lot about, you know, we're obsessed with gore
Because
and all
horror
of that.
has so many different elements to it. It's
Yeah.
not just the one, like, yeah, horror is like the main genre, but there's so many subgenres that you can get into. It's not something that even, it doesn't have to be scary if
Yeah.
you don't let it. As long as you don't deep dive in trying to recreate any
Exactly.
of these fake scenarios.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't go that far because it's not that serious, bro.
Yeah. It's not.
It's really not.
Yeah. No. And if you guys ever want to talk to us about anything horror related or
Definitely
anything
DM
at
us
all,
on stuff
yeah.
on every social media because now we have them all.
Yeah. We are on the clock 24/7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, we have to be now.
Yeah, we have to be
Because
now.
we definitely want to be able to keep you guys around and
Yeah.
show you guys like the real cool aspect of like what horror can be. So, and then again, horror is going to be our main genre that we cover, but we love cinema in general. So there will definitely be moments, maybe I think when we get bigger and we're a little more known and we kind of expand more. But we can definitely talk about other movies too. Like we love comedies, we love dramas, we love romances.
I don't know about
romances.
that
I love
one.
you a good romance.
But,
I love every genre of movie,
yeah.
and I think that once we kind of get to it, but we're trying to really base our ground into horror because that's really, again, how me and Jess connected and how I like to connect with different people because it's like the one thing that I know how to talk about.
Yeah, same.
So, anyway, thank you. First of all,
We had to
and
rant.
yeah, just to let you know, kind of, if you're new to us and you haven't listened to our older episodes, this is what we're about, and we really hope that you enjoyed it enough to stay. For that, please stay tuned because next week's episode will be about Nightmare on Elm Street, the
1984
version, which is
version.
the original.
The OG.
So
Yeah,
the very
the
first
OG.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
And yeah.
We've been wanting to cover this movie for a really long time. So what better way to officially start off the year with none other an iconic classic movie.
Of course.
That I really do think that even if you haven't watched the movie, you know who Freddy is.
Yeah. You know
So,
who Freddy is.
you know that
And we're excited because we didn't meet him, but we saw him.
We did see
We
him.
did see him,
Robert
and
Englund.
I'll probably
Beautiful
talk
man.
briefly during the episode
Yeah,
about my
100%.
sister's experience meeting him. So
Yeah. It's
that's-
exciting.
I'm excited.
I love the franchise.
Yes,
We'll definitely get into it whenever we get into it. So
yeah.
but yeah, we're excited to start that. So please stay tuned for that week's episode.
In the meantime, we've been your hosts, Jessica.
And Monica.
Stay safe and stay spooky.
Oof, that was scary. I can't wait to come back next week.